improvising tonight. We're rolling with it, y'all. Because my power's out at my house, so I am, that was something my kids used to say. I would ask them, why'd you do this? Because. So the power is out at my house tonight. So I'm at my friend Sarai's for this time. The Grinch is still at the house, so I will be heading back to the house after this here live. But, so tonight we're going to talk more. We're going to talk about addiction more. So, hello, Epic. You made it. Good day to you. Good day to you. Notice I have a change of scenery. We are improvising because my power is off at my house. Hello, Muglove. Watching the Matrix. All right. Very cool. So yeah, so I'm at one of my best friend's house. You know, there's 3 of us in our little circle, and so I'm at my world traveler's house. So my world traveler bestie. So yeah, I'm here at her place because the power's out at my place. So thankfully, I just walk right over here. It's, you know, a little bit halfway down the road. So hello, John London, Kim and McGlove and Epic. Thank you all for being here today, this evening. You paused it to watch me live. Perfect. Thank you. We'll expect a full report. If y'all haven't subscribed to McGlove, y'all subscribe to McGlove too. Maybe he'll give us a full report on his channel of The Matrix. I've tried to watch The Matrix. I get lost. All right. So tonight we're going to talk more about addiction. You know, we've talked about on Monday, we talked about the, you know, the sea of denial. Yeah, the power's out at my house. So hopefully, maybe it'll be back on by the time I get home. I had a client before I came on this live. You get lost with that movie too, Kim? Yeah. The Matrix is about transitioning gender. Hello. Okay. See, I don't totally understand it. You know, I like Keanu Reeves, and you know, even when I had my karate studio, a couple of my instructors did the thing, you know, where they did an act, you know, from The Matrix, but I haven't seen the whole thing. You're getting rain, McGlove. We got a little bit of rain earlier. I know. I hope it's on when I get home. That would be nice. Oh, I know your husband gets all this science in the, you know, Star Trek, the Star Wars, the Matrix. He gets all of that. Well, my glove. Freeing one's mind. See, that's what I got from it. What I know about the Matrix is it the red pill or the blue pill. You know, I can't take none of those pills. I certainly probably wouldn't even be able to decide which one to take. So, yeah. Yeah. Hello, Bridget Grace. So anyway, we're going to talk about addiction tonight. So thank y'all for being here. McGlove, you can give us a report on your channel if you want about the Matrix. So those of us like me and Kim who don't understand, it's one of your favorite films, John London. I know, I wish I could understand it, you know, and I guess I could, but I don't know why. I'll start watching it and then I'm just like, I don't know. So we'll talk about, the Wachowskis said they made it about Trent. All right, let's not argue about the Matrix, Epic, because if everyone is entitled to like what they like, and we don't want to, you know, put a damper on anything because he likes it, and John London likes it too, and I hear it's a great movie, honestly. I just don't understand it, and if it is about that, I don't have problems with that either. It's to each his own. That's not up to me to be worrying about. Not me to worry about. So Friday Night Live, I need to, what is it costing me? What is it costing me? Because when we're looking at addiction, oh, there's a cost to it. There's a cost. You know, we think I'm only hurting myself. That's part of it. We may say, I'm only hurting myself. But, you know, so no. So Wednesday morning, we continued our conversation. If y'all weren't able to be here Wednesday morning, we continued our conversation about addiction by looking at one little word that we may use all the time in addiction. If you're dealing with an addict, Or if you have, have addiction, then this thing I need a cigarette, I need a drink, I need some chocolate, I need to go shopping, I need to find somebody, I need to check my phone. And, we started asking ourselves a different question. Am I enjoying this or am I using it? Because just because somebody looks at the phone doesn't mean they're addicted to the phone. Just because somebody wants some chocolate doesn't mean that that's a problem. Just because somebody needs a cigarette, some people actually enjoy a cigarette. It doesn't mean we're addicted. So we have to eat. We do. Food is necessary. But are we eating for nutrition? Are we eating for comfort? We may enjoy a drink, but are we looking for spirit? So someone may enjoy smoking, so maybe they're just having a cigarette. I have a best friend that she has a cigarette in the evening time before bed. That's the only cigarette, that she has. That's her ritual. I have a friend that can smoke a joint like on a Friday or Saturday night and then not smoke anymore the rest of the week or the month. It's just, and that's not addiction. Hello, JR. How are you today? So there's nothing automatically wrong with enjoying something, so the question becomes more interesting when we start noticing what happens around that behavior. I'm glad you're good. Did I reach for it when I'm stressed? Is the question that we can ask ourselves, because a lot of times people get stressed and they're like, I need a cigarette. Is it one cigarette? See, in addiction, we say one is too many and 1,000's never enough. That's the way it was when I drank beer. That's the way it was when I smoked cigarettes. That's the way it is if I get into, sometimes if I get into the sweets or candy, I may think I'm only going to have a little bit and have a lot. So I'm not saying that I don't. I'm not, I sometimes get into the candy, but I really have to watch myself. And I sometimes have to be my own parent, set those boundaries with myself and say look, Stacy, you can have candy as a treat on the weekends. Really, because I could go for too much. We don't know. That's the thing about addiction is you may moderate and you might not moderate. And that's the thing, is that sometimes we're using against our will. We may say, I don't want to, whether it's, eat the pizza. I have one client that we talk about the frozen pizza. That's a weakness. And it's like, don't eat the frozen pizza. Just don't do it. Don't do it. That's not healthy. So do I reach for something when I'm stressed or when I'm lonely? Just in case. Thank you, just in case. I understand. There was a time I didn't like candy. So that's what I say. Sometimes we transfer addictions. When I'm uncomfortable, do I reach for something? When I don't want to think about something, do I reach for something? Do I try to distract myself? Sometimes that's especially with our phones, right? Is when we're not wanting to think about something and we're trying to not think. And so we'll just grab our phones and do the scrolling, escaping. So most importantly, what happens when I tell myself I won't do it and I find myself doing it again anyway? Now, during it, maybe our heart's racing. Maybe we notice we're not breathing. Sometimes we even have to have a snack. John London, the first steps, initial changes in healing of addiction and self-loathing is hardest. Yes, and gets easier the more you rewire the brain and love yourself, creating a healthier environment in and out. Absolutely, John London, it is. That's exactly right. And we have to get honest with ourselves. We want to rationalize and justify. On Monday night with that sea of denial, it's like we want to rationalize and justify, sometimes our using. And we don't realize how much that for me, how much I tolerated in my using because I just get high or drink and forget about it, things that bothered me. So when I quit using those things to cope, I told Kim, I said I would be throwing tea glasses and breaking tea glasses and stuff because I couldn't just chill like that anymore. Yeah, when we realize, because a lot of people have been taught that way. They grew up with that. They grew up with parents and grandparents even that said, I need a cigarette. I need a drink. I need this. So we think that this is our normal. And if you just need one, well, that's very well could be your normal. But if you don't stop, if you don't know what's going to happen, see, that's the thing about addiction is the one thing that we all have in common, no matter what your addiction is the inability to stop on our own. This is why support is so important, because the inability to stop on our own, because that's part of the thing that we talked about also, is that, I can stop whenever I want. Well, I can too for 2 weeks when I'm using, but then after 2 weeks, what? This is why even in relationships where there's addiction, because what? Somebody gets in trouble in a relationship, right? And then they're good for 2 weeks, maybe even 2 months. But then it's back to the same old if they don't get counseling or therapy or support in their relationship, it'll go back to the same way. Yes, finding ways to challenge that I need feeling, thought, if possible. Absolutely. It's about listening to ourselves, right, John London? Is like learning to listen to ourselves and to understand when we say I need, what is it that we really need? Because do we really need a cigarette? When I really needed stuff, if I needed so much alcohol that poor Jesus would be anemic, when I needed alcohol. If my needs are overriding all this other stuff and other people and all of this, then I have a problem, because I think that we were destined for unity and community. And this is why that support is so helpful, but not to have somebody else run our lives for us. It's to learn to take that responsibility and accountability. That light flickered too. These lights better not go off too. So the responsibility and accountability, and that's not, we didn't learn to do that sometimes. Sometimes people didn't ever have support their whole lives, so it feels uncomfortable because they think there's an angle, right? If somebody's nice to me, there must be an angle to it. Hey, big guy, it's good to see you. It is a new room, and it's not permanent. This is one of my best friend's apartments. There's 3 of us in our little circle, and we're like the Hocus Pocus gang. But anyway, it's her apartment. And so she's a world traveler, and she's in the United States right now. So I had to come over here and use her electricity because mine's out right now. A lot of places with this heat is getting, the electricity's going out. So it's one of those things, the grid, my glove. Instead of I need, insert negative, think I need, insert positive. Yes, my glove. Mama, Virginia Harris. Hello, Mama. Glad you could make it tonight. So in talking about that, realizing what we're saying when we say I need, what does that mean? Nobody, a lot of times people feel like their needs aren't met by other people, right? And they're saying I need, and then they're also saying nobody ever listens to me. But am I listening to me? This is the part where we get honest. Am I listening to me? Do I hear myself saying I need? And what is it that I think that I need? Do I really need a cigarette? Well, when I'm 58 years old like my dad and I can't breathe, and I'm saying, I wish I would have taken better care of myself if I would have known I was going to live this long, then I guess he didn't need it after all, right? Well, harmony, there's harmony. Things, I do believe that we have to, and there is negative. I have negativity. I have to, I still have negativity just because we all have negativity in us. And then there's positivity. See, a lot of us we're afraid of the positivity though, because we're afraid of getting let down. And then there's harmony in between, that's where the harmony is when I can realize and own the negative parts of myself and take responsibility for that. What am I running from? And what am I running to when I say I need? Because a lot of times we are running from something to something else, especially when we think I need a relationship, it's like we haven't learned to feel secure in ourselves. And I know really I needed security. I still strive for security. John London, it's kind of hard when addicts feel their addictions are okay if they're legal and readily available. Exactly. It's one of the hardest things. The food addiction is the hardest addiction. But codependency is kind of an addiction too. Codependency is, I think, part of the family of addiction, because oftentimes what, Dr. Drew and Melody Beatty say is that first there's addiction. That's how we cope. And the reason that we cope is that we don't feel comfortable around people. So enter in codependency. And a lot of people don't know exactly what codependency is, and we're going to talk about that a little bit next week. But so codependency. So codependency is looking for validation outside of ourselves. See, when we are in addiction, we're looking for the good feeling outside of ourselves. In codependency, we're looking for validation, for love, for care outside of ourselves. We're thinking that we don't have something inside of us. You know, we're missing something. So, hey, Amy, it's good to see you tonight. So, sometimes we can be addicted to the way that if there's chaos, we can even be addicted to chaos. Because if you've got an amped up central nervous system that has been catastrophizing all your life, well, then when things get calm, that's when people start waiting for that other shoe to fall, or they start thinking, I know something's going to happen. John London, my mom has a food addiction. I'm going to look into some things that will help her. That's good, John London. That's really good, because food addiction is hard. I know I work with a lot of people with food addiction, you know, too. So you are very welcome, Amy. Food addiction is hard because it is legal. Alcohol is legal, you know, codependency, relationships. Some of these things have been learned behaviors, and so those are really hard to discern if it's a problem or not. You know, I know working with people with food addiction is there's, you know, are we eating for nutrition? Are we eating, you know, when people say stuff your feelings, a lot of times people are stuffing their feelings. So, and sometimes people just didn't learn. I had one client that she ate ice cream every night, and I was like, why are you eating ice cream every night? Food is the cheapest addiction as well as compared to shopping or a substance. Absolutely, John London. And it's easy to rationalize and justify. You know, if we can keep from eating stuffs out of boxes and packages, if we can, you know, try to be conscious about not choosing to eat things out of boxes and packages like chips. I eat chips for a special occasion. Chips are a treat. Every once in a while I eat chips. But it's like if I'm having the seafood soup, then I have chips on the bottom for the seafood soup, and I don't do that very often, you know. So, but if we choose to buy stuff out of a box or a bag, those things have a bunch of preservatives in them, and those things will stick to you, and those things are what people grab for. If it's too easy to grab, it's probably too easy to put weight on you, you know, unless it's vegetables, and a lot of people, you know, you still have to clean the vegetables. So what happens when we tell ourselves, I won't do it, and we find ourselves doing it anyway? So that's where we shared, you know, started moving beyond the behavior itself. That's maybe what, I'm having troubles reading my notes. Maybe the issue isn't simply what we're doing. Maybe it's the relationship we developed with it. You know, a lot of us have a ritual, you know, about eating too. And even the beer, you know, a lot of people like pizza and beer, and they put it together, and then that's a lot of pounds. And so we have to change these rituals. Some people with drugs, they have rituals, eating rituals. I have a ritual before bedtime. I drink golden milk. So, you know. John London says, true, my gluten tolerance with diagnosis is hard to adjust to because it's in all my favorite foods. I know. And that's where we have to understand these are treats. If they're not good for us, then they're a treat. Because are we going to never have it? It's just a day at a time. Just a day at a time. I just don't have to have this today. I have to make that conscious decision that today I'm not going to eat this. You know, I don't eat Cheetos. I don't eat any kind of chips like that. And how can songs trigger relapse? Oh my gosh, Rusty Waters. Yes, songs. You know, there's some kinds of songs that, you know, sometimes we have these expected behaviors when we expect people are going to leave us. And sometimes they call this reservations in the programs and things, you know, but the songs. There's songs that we grew up with. There's country songs, and there's songs that encourage codependency. Like, you know, one of my favorites is I Can't Live If Living Is Without You. I like the Heart version the best, you know, but it's a codependent song because we can live and we have to live if living is without you, right? So songs can trigger us. And coming from Texas, Rusty Waters, coming from Texas, those country songs, those beer drinking songs, those cheating songs, Because if somebody's got love addiction, those cheating songs may be right up their alley. That one's one I haven't practiced yet. I mean, not love addiction. I did practice love addiction, sex addiction. Then cheating might be one of the, unmanageability of sex addiction. So that's why I don't listen to much country music, is that I don't have anything in common with it. I can't be drinking. I'm not cheating. I don't like cheating. And that stuff just doesn't entertain me. And some of it's just too sad. But I'm not saying all country music's bad. I'm not. I'm from Texas. Lord have mercy. Amy, I'm finding online games that may or may not pay anything are becoming part of my daily. Yes, and those are big addictions too. There's actually a Gamers Anonymous. When I was looking at the anonymous programs, there's so many programs to deal with all these different addictions, and so yeah, and then there's a bunch of programs to help people deal with people who have these different addictions. So one of the things, gaming, shopping, these are some, things. I shopped so much I had to file bankruptcy because there's that transference of addiction for me, and I have to be very careful about that. So when we talked about the sea of denial, that rationalization and justification, swimming and all of that with it. That was our floaties, right? Rationalization and justification is like, it's not that bad. I'm not hurting anybody. It's just smoking. It's just food. It's just shopping. All of those are legal, right? Just like John London said. It's just dating. Everybody does it. Rusty Waters. They have Dolly Parton right now on Dolly Parton's amazing. My mom, I don't know if she stayed in here or fell out because she sent a message on probably in another video, but she and Dolly Parton share the same birthday. So, yeah. And yes, Amy, transference. There is a transference of addiction. I have a friend that calls it the whack-a-mole, like you feel like, okay, I'm not drinking anymore. And it happened with me with smoking. When I quit smoking 35 years ago, I started buying candles and hand lotion. It's true that we will replace it. We will replace it, but do we replace it with something that's going to be good for us? Like a lot of the people that I work with food addiction, they replace it. And they start walking. They walk a lot to replace with the time that they would spend sitting in front of the TV eating or, what have you. And you can even stand in front of the TV and be on your walking your walking board rather than walking mat. And so a lot of them start walking. They start doing food prep so that they're conscious and they're not grabbing fast food when they go out. So John London, that might be something for your mom, is when people do food prep. And that's what I do too is, food prep. I have the same thing for about 3 or 4 days is what I eat. So, but it's my prep. I prefer to eat at home. She is a true Tennessean, isn't she? Yeah, she and mom have the same birthday. So, yeah. Here's the thing about consequences, though. They don't always show up immediately, That's right. There is the truth. Replace the bad addiction with a positive addiction. Exactly. Because everything's good until it's not, and it's bad until it's not. Right, Amy? Because that's the thing. Is an addiction usually starts out as a reward. It's like, oh, but then it becomes a habit because if we like something, it's like, this makes me feel this way. So we actually start getting a serotonin boost at what we're doing. We start, getting a hormone boost about even thinking about it. And so it's like, that obsession and compulsion starts, and it becomes that habit, and then that habit becomes an addiction. Yeah, she was here a minute ago, Kim. I think she fell out because she posted something on one of my other walls, I think. So, yep, she's talking in another one. She's sending messages. I don't think she's in here. I'm seeing her stuff she's posting, but she gets lost sometimes. So consequences don't always show up immediately. Sometimes they're subtle. Sometimes they're accumulating while we're busy explaining why they don't really matter, right? Sometimes we're just like, oh, it's okay. And, it hit me. When I quit using, it's like, oh my gosh. And here's the thing, is what for me, what I thought, I was married when I quit drinking. Hello, Mr. Inappropriate. So I was married when I quit drinking. Had 2 little kids, 2 and almost 5 were their ages. My husband. And I didn't know how to deal with this stuff sober. I did not know how to deal with this because I saw drinking and codependency growing up. And then there's me, and getting to know myself because I just mirrored everything up until then. Everything was a reaction. I've got to go. I'll update my coins as soon as. Okay, my glove. Thank you. Enjoy the Matrix, okay? And I look forward to hearing about it. So what happened was that I went to therapy, after 5 years of being sober was when I started therapy because I was bankrupt. Yes, have a good weekend, my glove. And so I was bankrupt and you drank 2 to 3. Oh, goodness. Well, you can stop. You can stop. I know for me, I couldn't stop by myself, Mr. Inappropriate. I would be good for a couple of weeks, and then I would drink again, and then I might just have a couple of drinks, but then I might just drink all day, So I couldn't stop by myself, so I had to go to AA, Mr. Inappropriate. I did. My kids asked me, hey, Mom, are you like one of those people in there that says, I'm Stacy, I'm an alcoholic, 2 to 3 pints a day? Lord have mercy. So, and that I did. I couldn't save my face and my behind at the same time. And there's no merit in valor, and it's worse if we don't catch these things and we get out there on the road and really hurt somebody, and you can't do that. I didn't want to do that, and I didn't think I knew every good dog has its day, is what I thought to myself, Amy Rooker. But I thought addiction was harmful regardless of which direction it goes, like suddenly going to church all the time. That can go crazy too. Yeah, church can go crazy too. My dad got sober through church for 5 years. That 5's a magic number, right? I'll explain that story again in a minute. But Dad went to church for 5 years. Here's the problem with just going to church for our family with addiction. I don't know about other people. Some people probably can quit without. I've known people that can quit without going to church or a program. But are they happy? Are they happy? Because the thing about AA is we talk about happy, joyous, and free. And so I like being happy, joyous, and free. And the thing is what happened to my dad in church, just getting sober through the church was, he got sober and he believed everything was being taken away, but he also had the issues that he had before, those underlying issues of the belief system. Because just because he believed in God didn't mean that he believed other things and didn't have resentments about people who got treated better than other people. And the fact in reality is in life, unfortunately, there are people who will get treated better than other people. And then he blamed me when he went back out. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. But he was building these resentments because he just kept trying to be good. But see, he just kept trying to be good without addressing that negative stuff that I was talking about a while ago. Is that we have that negativity in us. Just because we get dipped in the water, just because we go to church every day, doesn't mean that negativity doesn't creep back in our head if we don't heal it. And that was the part that he missed, was he did not get to heal that stuff just by going to church. That didn't just take his belief system away about the injustices that life has, and he had resentments about those injustices. And those things will lead you back out. He tried to be good just so us kids would be good, but then when he found out, just because he was going to church, I still had my teenage rebellion. So I was smoking cigarettes. When he found out I was smoking cigarettes, he went and got him some cigarettes, and he went and got him some alcohol and blamed it on me. And it was on again, And my dad's not a bad man. He's a good man. It's just that's the thing, is until I could work my steps and realize what I did as a result of what I felt like injustices were at me. Because that's the 4th, 5th step, is figuring out, what is it? What's my fears? What happened? What's my fears? And then, putting that on a list, these resentments that I gathered from these fears, and who the people were, because sometimes they show up as different characters in our lives. So these people that hurt, that I felt hurt and wounded by. I had to put it on a list, and then what happened, the fear that it caused in me, and then, you know, how it affected me. How did I behave as a result of that fear, and how that affected me? Because that would end up being my shortcomings. That was my survival skills right there. You know, so it all kind of, the 12 steps will all kind of, it's a pattern that changes. We change our neural pathways with it. So, and a lot of people don't like them. They work for me. And I got to look at the wrongs that I felt were done to me, those resentments, so that I didn't carry those with me, so that I got to heal from those things. And just getting washed and praying doesn't just heal it. You got to feel it to heal it. Mr. Inappropriate, yeah, I know my consumption isn't the most, but it's a lot for me. It would be a lot for me. That's really tough on the liver. Cirrhosis is invisible but creeps up on us, right? Rusty Waters, hello, my name is Rusty and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic too, Rusty. Yeah, we're family up in here. You went 5 years also? Yeah, see, so here's the deal. Was that without, you know, because without the program, see, because what happened with me is it took a long time for me to get myself back in my right mind, because I didn't realize what all I was hiding in my addiction, you know. And so going to therapy, I'm telling the therapist, well, I was happy my first 5 years of marriage, and then I was unhappy my last 5 years of marriage. And I said, if I was unhappy for 5 years, then I was going to get a divorce. My therapist looked at me and she's like, why did you stay 5 years? And I was like, well, because I was happy the first 5, and it didn't make sense to my therapist, right? But then when I really dissected it, the first 5 years I was high or drunk most of the time, you know, to cope. And the last 5 years I was sober and didn't know how the hell to cope with it, you know. And so my ex-husband got a lot of power over me. I let him have a lot of power over me. So it was that codependency. So I ended up in coda. That's when I ended up in coda, in codependency. Because I stayed sober for that 5 years, but I didn't know how to cope with all of this still. So I was very tight-jawed. It affected my body, and it affected my dad like that too, you know, because he didn't understand why some things would happen, and I totally understand why he didn't understand. All right, Lucky Street, we'd be nice on here. You're welcome to stay, but we'd be nice, okay? Mr. Inappropriate, and started drinking again. Yeah, Rusty Waters, relapse is a part of recovery. Absolutely, absolutely. Relapse can happen, and you know, it's just come back. It's just come back. You are very welcome, Mr. Inappropriate. Thank you for being here. I'm very glad that you're here, you know, because you're in the right place, I think. Epic. I think if you look into anyone's mind, you'll find every single person is addicted to something, whether, right, Epic? Yeah, we can get addicted to a lot of things. I can get addicted to boba tea. I love me some bubble tea. Thankfully, it's not like real close to where I can figure that out, but yeah. Mr. Inappropriate, the disease tries to trick our minds. It absolutely does. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful. It is, Mr. Inappropriate, and it will tell us that we ain't got it when we do. I know that I haven't used in 29 years, but I'm so scared that I'm not gonna go back there. It's just like I've worked too hard to go back. Epic, addicted to being healthy, addicted to dying quick, addicted to something shiny. It's all the same. Yeah. Lucky Street, addicted to live streams. Yeah, there's a lot of people addicted to live streams too, Amy. Rock. Yes. Epic, precisely, Lucky. Geez, Jaded Wasted. Hello, darling. It's good to see you. God bless you too. Dominic. Hey, Dominic, I'm glad you're here. Only you can help you. That's exactly right, Rusty Walters. We can carry the message, but not the person. You know, and that's the thing, is that a lot of people, that's why we're going to talk about codependency next week, because a lot of people are carrying people, and that's not helping, that's enabling. So a lot of people don't know, you know, that that's enabling. And I had codependency too, and it wasn't that I was dealing with addiction, it was that I was letting somebody have power over my thinking, you know. So, wow, everything you talk about seems so familiar. Oh, well, good, I think. Lucky Street. Sorry, ma'am. It's just a friendly great. And it didn't sound very friendly, the first one. But the second thing you said was just fine. Thank you very much, Lucky Street, for the apology. Rusty, you're addicted to placebos. I don't know what my addiction is right now. Walking, probably. But that's the thing is that, we do get to, more I know that I'm addicted, because I don't like labels so much, but the more that there is, descriptions. And so the more that I know I'm addicted to things, or that I have that gene, or to have that possibility, the more I'm able to moderate, if that makes sense. But I'm not trying to drink. I'm not trying to use any mind-altering chemicals, because the mind-altering chemicals is where I'm mind-altering, and I don't need to alter my mind. I'm lucky to have what I have left after I'm altering my mind. I'm not going to try to alter my mind no more. You call friends old goose? Where are you from, Lucky Street? Amy Rucker, LOL, I have to laugh. The clock behind you hasn't moved. I know, but it's not my clock, y'all. Poor mom. She's off in another room. Mom's asking about you. I don't know where she is, but she's in another video, I have a feeling. I was a hippie chick. No, I don't smoke at all, Dominic. I don't smoke cigarettes, weed, or nothing. Nothing. So sometimes they accumulate, and while we're busy explaining why they don't matter, sometimes the accumulation is maybe it's our health, maybe it's our weight, maybe it's our bank account, because those are the things that are going to take a hit. Those things with addiction will take a hit. Maybe it's our marriage, maybe it's the relationship with our children, maybe it's the friendships, and maybe it's our time, maybe it's our ability to be present. I know at the end of my use and my drinking, it was the inability to be present. I know it gets late over there, right, Amy? So I was not present, and I'm so glad that when I quit using, I was able to be present for my kids. No one gives you a medal for being present, but you get the reward for being present, okay? That's the thing, is I didn't get a medal for being present. I even lost a child. I wasn't the perfect parent. Still, I wasn't the worst parent. It wasn't, it wasn't my fault. But the thing is that I didn't have to use, and that I was there, because it's not like my dad, because my dad's, thinking was, I've tried to be good all this time and you still smoke cigarettes. My son and daughter smoked cigarettes. They drank. They did whatever. They didn't see me do it. They didn't even remember me doing it. They did see me from 2 to 5, but they didn't even remember it, because I tried to make amends to my son, and my son's like, Mom, I don't even remember you drinking, So I was present. And I'm glad that I was present, because since he left early, I don't regret that, I was present at all. And using wouldn't help any of that. So sometimes the person we're hurting most is the person we keep telling ourselves we're taking care of, ourselves, right? Maybe it's, our ability to trust. Some of us lose that by the wayside, saying we're not going to do it again and then do it again, right? So that's what we're talking about tonight. Not to scare anybody, and not to label anybody, and certainly not to point fingers at somebody else's addiction. That's what we were talking about Monday, is addiction isn't just alcohol and drugs. There's a lot of things we can be addicted to. Love, chaos, getting in other people's business. Take care of ourselves, yes. That's owning our stuff, I'll get further into it. Take care of ourselves. Yeah, that's the thing that we didn't do. See, when we're looking at that, sometimes the person we're hurting most is the person we keep telling ourselves we're taking care of. That's ourselves, because we're just like, I'm only hurting myself. Yeah, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I hear you. That was the 80s. The 80s, I was all in it. Juice, jaded, wasted. Anything that gives you an escape can eventually become the place you're trying to. Exactly. That's what I was saying, on. Was it Wednesday or Monday night? But exactly. Thank you so much, Lucky Street. So that's what we're talking about tonight, is the escapism, and what's it costing us, the consequences, because we spent a week learning that it's very easy to recognize addiction when it belongs to somebody else, right? A lot of people can recognize it in somebody else. We have a saying in recovery, you spot it, you got it. So it doesn't mean that you actually do the same thing that everybody else did, but addictions and the underlying things can manifest in a variety of ways. Our shortcomings can manifest in a variety of ways, defects and shortcomings. So not to point fingers at somebody else's addiction, because we've spent this week learning that it's very easy to recognize addiction when it belongs to somebody else. And it's much harder when we have to look at our own relationship with something. See, that's the thing, is looking at our own relationship with it. The most pertinent addiction to conquer is that of living itself. Beat that one, and you can actually enjoy most things in moderation. Unless you're me, Epic. Unless you're me. I have addictive, thing, and I don't know. May God go. Okay. Well, Colum Jade, you're welcome to be here, darling, but we don't talk about any kind of religions. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about my age, and we don't talk about my relationships or dating. So, thank you, Epic. So tonight we're looking at honest questions. What's this costing me? Because it's costing us something. If we're in addiction, it's costing us something. It's costing us our health. It's costing us money. It's costing us relationships, maybe. So what's it costing the people I love? Because a lot of us use and say, I'm only hurting myself, but that's not true. The first step in one of the programs talks about, is this inconsequential? And no, it's not inconsequential. What am I giving up because I keep choosing this? Just because you hadn't gone to jail yet, because that used to be one of the things with me is, oh, I'm not like them. I didn't go to jail, costing us our sanity. Absolutely, Lucky Street. Absolutely. Doing the same thing, expecting different results. Just maybe trying, well, I tried this drug, so then, and it didn't do so well. So yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. So then we switched. It's the same with alcohol, and other things. Is it an addiction or a disease? Addiction is a disease. It's been, labeled a disease. Addiction is, and obesity is a disease as well. Addiction and obesity are diseases. So to me, what that means is it can be genetic, but it can also be social. But the reality is either way, whether it's genetic or it's social, the outcome is still the same. In one of the fellowships that I'm in, they say it's not what or how much you use. It's the inability to quit. It's, we just can't quit. I thought that once upon a time that then I was resting. I know, right, Amy? I know. I thankfully, my daughter growing up with seeing me in this, she messaged me the other night, and she was like, she had a friend that, she's like, Mom, they so yeah, it's good that she knows what to do, because I have it. Addiction. She may have addiction, she might not. I don't know. I don't get to decide that, but yeah, it's good. Those DWIs will tell you. I didn't even get the DWI, but I just knew every good dog has its day. I was going to get one. If I didn't get one, what if I was to, do something in the car and not remember and be like some of the people I see on TV that they don't even know they've killed somebody. And I did not want to do that. I was so scared of that, And once I started blacking out, I knew that I knew that could be me. You try to be good now. We don't have to be perfect, just progress. But I don't drink at all. G's Jaded Waste is. Did you ever think to get a grip on this before it gets any further addictions? Of course I did. But it didn't work. I thought that. I was just talking to my bestie this morning, my other bestie, not the one's apartment I'm sitting in, my other bestie. I was talking to her this morning, and that's the thing is when we were talking G's Jaded Wasted the other night, there's food addiction too. And so there was somebody talking about somebody in my story. There was somebody talking about somebody on pharmaceutical drugs. Why don't they quit? Why don't they just quit? And they have wanted to just quit. And even if you grow up in addiction and you're genetically predisposed for addiction like I was, I didn't think I was going to be like that. So it's like, and I thought I could get a grip on it. But you can't. That's the thing about addiction is once we start, we don't know. It's going to keep going. And so that, we can't think our way out of this stuff. We just can't. We can't. So food is an addiction too. And no, most people don't say, Well, don't they, well, maybe some do, but the people I sit with, a lot of people don't say, well, don't they know, like when to stop, like people do with drinking, is don't they know when to stop? Don't they know this? And so this is why a lot of people can judge other addictions, is because maybe they don't know how to stop in their addiction either. And anytime when we have food addiction, it can switch into drug addiction. That's what mine did. And when we have drug addiction, it can slip into love addiction. There is the thing as love addiction, where people are just settling in relationships and things like this because they just want to be loved, but they haven't worked on their esteem. And then there's also, after love addiction, I finally had a husband and kids. I scored with the love addiction. Got a husband and kids that I didn't know what to do with. I did fine with the kids, I think, but husband not so much. But anyway, I mean, I didn't cheat or nothing like that. I just didn't have the model to be a happily married woman. I just didn't get that model. So I didn't still know how to be a happily married woman. I wasn't happy. So no, you can't just think your way out of getting a grip on it before it gets any further. Because I tried many times to just sit there and I'm just going to have 2 drinks. But sometimes I would stop when I said I was just going to have 2 drinks, and sometimes I did not. All blackouts, they're just something unbelievable what they can do to a person. I know, and once I started blacking out, it's like, no, there's no telling what I will do in a blackout, because they would tell me about cooking pork chops and not really cooking pork chops while I was in a blackout. I was doing things in my blackouts that I didn't even know I was doing in my blackouts. And so I thought, I could get in a car, put my kids in the car, run into somebody else's kids in a car. It wasn't worth it. It just wasn't worth it. Lucky Street, blacking out is the worst, especially if you have been in public. Exactly. And nowadays it'd really be bad because you're going to find out on it on a video and everything. So yeah, I'm so glad they didn't have videos back when I was doing this. Thank you, Samuel Westall. Samuel's like, get the 5 years sober and 23 years clean. All right, excellent. Thank you, Samuel. Congratulations. We do recover. We actually do. Thank you for hitting the hearts. Thank y'all for hitting the hearts. We do recover. Kim's food addict, right? Yes. And so it's the thing, right? We just don't know what's going to happen if we give in to some of these things that we love so much, and especially when it's mind-altering chemical, but even food can alter our mind, So, Amy, 1 drink can be too much and a bottle not enough. Yeah, that's what they say, is 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough, right? Thank you, NB. And codependent, right? You're following in my footsteps, girl. All right, Lucifer Lucero, we don't talk about any kind of religion. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about my age or dating. But you're welcome to be here, and I hope you're able to enjoy something or get something out of this. So when it's not hurting anyone when we say that, is it really true? Is it really true? Because addiction has consequences. It sure does. So this week we expanded. I was enjoying my beer, guys. Thanks, now I'm feeling bad. Not everybody who has a beer is an alcoholic. I said that in the beginning. Geez, Jaded Wasted says not everybody who drinks is alcoholic. Not everybody who smokes a joint is an addict. Some people can do these things. Like I have one friend in Texas that she can smoke a joint on the weekend, and she may not smoke another one for a week or a month or forever. She'll just do one. See, when I smoke, it's all day, every day. I just don't stop. Amy, I'm so grateful for you. Oh, thank you so much. I'm grateful for you being here in these lives. Thank you. So, yeah. Epic. I'm 10 years off of exercise, guys. My joints, futures are firmly secured. Well, okay. I don't do rigorous exercise, but I walk. I walked a lot today, so... We start by recognizing that addiction isn't just alcohol and drugs. We looked at the sea of denial. We looked at all the different things that we can become attached to or dependent upon. And Wednesday we ask, am I enjoying this or am I using it? So today I want to talk about something else. So addictions have consequences. It's just smoking, we might say. It's just food. It's just shopping. It's just dating. It's not hurting anybody. But consequences don't always happen immediately. Sometimes they're slow. Sometimes we don't even see them till later. So most addictions take a toll somewhere. Maybe it's the body. Maybe it's the pocketbook. Maybe it's both. And most likely, eventually, it affects relationships with the people we love. And you got stoned once, it lasted 10 years. I know it lasted a long time when I got stoned too, Lucky Street. It sure did. That was really, I guess, probably when people talk about, and I know they say weed's not a drug, but that was my one of choice, that, yeah. You can't abuse it, though. Then it turns into reduction. The problem with me smoking weed is once I started smoking weed, I got thirsty. Once I got thirsty, I started drinking. Once I started drinking, I got sleepy. Once I started getting sleepy, things started going in my nose and down my throat. And then, I was in no man's land by that time. Usually ended at the IHOP on a good night, eating breakfast. Sometimes I didn't know yeah. So, Lucky Street, I quit now. Might have a smoke every 3 to 4 months now. That's good if you can do that. My choice of drink was Beck's beer. I loved me some dark Beck's beer. That's what my choice of drink was. I didn't play. I did not play. Epic, you want to put Enigma out? I'm not dealing with this right now. Kim did it. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. All right. Sometimes the person we're hurting is ourselves. You don't have to completely destroy your life before something has consequences. I know for me, when I got sober, I was driving a minivan. I had 2 kids, but I hated myself. I hated myself when I looked in the mirror every morning. When I laid down at night in the bed, my stomach was churning, my head was spinning, everything was spinning. So that's what I want us to understand is the self-hate, the self-loathing, the shame that we did it again and we swore we wouldn't, or after we tried to manipulate another way to escape. If you're like me, I picked myself apart when I looked in the mirror. This is why I give the mirror exercise, in a sense, is because it's to break the way that we see ourselves. That's why I tell us get up in there where you just see your pupils, because we can pick ourselves apart in the mirror, because that self-hate and self-loathing runs deep. Amy, I know they say that it's pretty good for pain. If I had pain, I don't know that I would. And, I said if I ever, have unmanageable pain and that's going to be the end, well, maybe. There we go. Okay, bye, Shaded Wasted. I'm glad that you were here tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I always appreciate your input. Thank you so much. So, we change the way that we look at ourselves. Thank you very much. I didn't wake up this way, Lucky Street, but it's been years of progress over perfection. Years of progress over perfection. What did you do for addiction, though? I got sober through AA, Dominic. I went to AA. That was the last house on the block. The last thing I wanted to be was an alcoholic, because I grew up with them telling me all the time my dad and his family were all alcoholics, so that people would always be saying they're just alcoholics, and they spoke really horrible about alcoholics. So the last thing I wanted to be was an alcoholic. That's why I like to smoke weed more, because that wasn't an alcoholic. But I shared the other week that I became just like my dad. My dad would get in blackouts. He was very smart, very talented. He was a good man. It's just when he got in the blackouts, the bar called me. I'd have to go get my dad at the bar. He'd be outside the bar shooting his gun off at the sky, and he could hurt somebody. So they'd call me, Stacy, you need to come get your dad. He's really smart when he's not drinking, but he's out here shooting at the bar, and I don't want to call the police on him. So can you come get him? So I had to go get my dad. And out there for the grace of God. You know, that was what we ended with on Monday night, I believe, is there for the grace of God go I, that it could be I. You know, we can talk and compare other people and stuff, but so I did. I walked into AA. The last time out was Friday the 13th in June of 1997. And yes, so I've been sober ever since June 14th, 1997. Yeah, he was outside. You know, I'm from Texas, Lucky Street, and they got a lot of guns in Texas. So he was outside shooting in the parking lot at the bar. Not at the bar, but in the bar's parking lot. So he was shooting at the sky, but you know, those bullets could come down and hurt somebody. So I had to go get him. I had to go get him out of jail a few times and things. But before he passed, we had a really good relationship. Yep, like Yosemite Sam. My dad was a character. He was really smart when he wasn't drinking. He really, you know, he was very, he's a good person. He worked very hard for his family. You're a type 2 diabetic and you're dealing with neuropathy in your hands and feet, but you don't want to take pills for neuropathy. What should you do? I don't know. I'm not experienced with that, Dominic, and I'm not a doctor, so I would not like to give you any kind of thoughts on that. But you could probably Google it. It would tell you plenty, because I know when I don't know something, I Google it, you know, a lot of times. But I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to give you, you know, any advice. And I know that it's hard when we're sitting here talking about alcohol and you know, and sometimes weed. I don't know if weed's good for neuropathy. Weed is good, CBD, you know, gummies and things like that. I hear that they're very good for pain. Thankfully, I don't have pain yet, you know, so, because I don't know. I used to think, you know, especially when they started legalizing weed, I used to think, oh, maybe I could smoke weed. And then I was in an AA meeting in Cancun. If they tell you to take pills, take the pills. Google it. It's not yeah. No, it's not a substitute for a doctor's opinion. They'll probably tell you to go to a doctor. That's what a lot do. Cannabis calms resting. Yeah, they say that it's very good for a lot of things. And so if they were to prescribe it, here's my addicted mind though, is I'm sitting in a meeting in Cancun and I used to think, wonder if I could, you know, smoke weed, you know, and everything. And then I had a sponsor who actually had 27 years, and she did smoke the weed because she had a lot of anxiety, you know, but I don't know if she's still smoking weed or not. I love her. So anyway, but yeah, somebody in a Cancun meeting, I was like, oh wow, because now you can smoke weed in those little pens. And I was like, I didn't get to smoke weed in little pens. Yeah, they say it's really good, especially, you know, like all that. So yeah, I'm not judging. If I could, I would, but I can't. I'm scared to. I'm scared if yeah, they say that brothers keep pushing me on it, LOL. Yeah, see, I don't know. Lucky Street, the U.S. medical world is a business, though, so take advice from multiple sources. Exactly. Yeah, Lucky Street, they could kill you with all their medical advice in the United States. Sometimes I'll be like, no, I don't take it. I take, like, vitamin D. I take vitamin D. I take niacin, and I take collagen. Those are the only things. Yeah, Amy, understand completely. Yeah. I'll never say never, though. I had to learn never say never, but a day at a time I don't, you know. But if I had pain, I would probably do the same. So this is why I give the mirror exercise, in a sense, the way that we rewire our brain. So because we can ask ourselves, what is this costing me? What is it costing the people around me? What am I giving up because I keep choosing this? Because we're giving up something. Like with food addiction, we're giving up health when we choose that. With smoking, we're giving up health because we're choosing that. And now it's money too. That smoking costs a lot. And, you know, food addiction can cost a lot too. It certainly costs your health a lot. So what am I giving up? What happens when I continue to do this for another year, 5 years, 10 years? And sometimes when we have an addiction, we keep doing it, even when we're told not to do it anymore. So are you really choosing it anymore? Right? So, or has it become something that you automatically reach for? That's why, in our third step, it's about making a decision. Third, fourth step, the fourth step, it's like making a decision. The third step, making a decision, learning how to make a decision, because our addictions make the decision for us. So that's where the freedom begins to change, is when when we're able to make our decisions. The thing we thought we were choosing may have started choosing for us. And that's why I don't want this week to be about judging people with addiction. I want us to be more educated about addiction, more compassionate and more honest, because that's why a lot of people don't want to get honest about addiction, because they're afraid of being judged. So because we can judge someone else's addiction because it looks different than ours. A lot of people want to do that. I've seen people do it. Yeah. I can see people who switch from drug or alcohol addiction and go to food addiction and start judging people with something else, and it's like, no, we're not judging people, because addiction can be transferred. And so, yeah, that's why I say never either. We may be standing in our own version of the sea of denial. So however we give our power away, I want us to take a few minutes tonight to begin taking some of that power back. We're almost to the end of this. So yeah, thank you all for the comments and everything else. Y'all are amazing, and I'm just so glad that I could be here. And if you're new here and you haven't subscribed to this channel, and if y'all will press that thumbs up button, I appreciate it. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. We're about to get into the breathing. So we're going to talk about the things I want you to think about as we get into the breathing. And it's so happy to see so many of you here in recovery too, because we're never alone. We're never alone. That's what I love about recovery, that there's a lot of fears I don't have anymore. Like going to another state or another country, because I know I'm going to find my people there. That's one thing about if you go to one of those 12-step groups, they're all over the world, and that delegates where I'm going in this world, because is there a meeting by there? Because I'm not going to think about moving anywhere or going anywhere where there's not a meeting there, because I need to be around people like me sometimes, because even with 29 years, if I start thinking I got this, we're in trouble. We are in trouble, y'all. And that's what happens when we get isolated and alone. Boredom and isolation, if you believe in the devil, that's the devil's playground. We get in trouble. Because we are creative people, and we just forgot to own that creativity in a more positive way. So as we breathe together tonight, I want you to think about the person you were before you learned or you began escaping the original plan of who you are. That worthy baby, that worthy person you were born to be, the child who came into this world with your authenticity. You're special just being you. Angela! Grinch isn't here because I'm in a different apartment. I'm in an apartment tonight, but thank you. It's good to see you. So we're talking about how we're going to go into the breathing. So you came here with authenticity. You came here with gifts. You came here with play. You came here with curiosity. That's who you were born with. That's what you were born with. And so in a way of seeing the world that was uniquely yours, you're the only one who sees the world like you do. And that's okay. We don't have to measure up to somebody else. We just have to love ourselves. So in learning to love ourselves, so we do this, as you breathe in, I want you to breathe in that original plan, your authenticity, that child that you were, those things that you love about the child that you were, breathing into that tummy. You remember, do any of y'all have pictures of when you were little? Yeah, this is one of my best friend's apartments. I get to come here because my electricity was off. She is just in time for us breathing. So, as you breathe in, I want you to breathe in that original plan. Breathe in your authenticity. Breathe in your gifts. Breathe in your play. What did you like to play when you were a kid? I try to encourage people, if they liked coloring, if they like drawing, if they like dancing, if they like, painting, whatever it is you did when you were a kid, riding your bike, get back on there. I know I find a lot of freedom in my walking, because when I was a kid, I didn't get to walk as much. My mom and dad were very protective, so I didn't get to walk as much. And now I get to walk all over the place, and it's just like a little kid exploring. Because that's what we are, is we're adults. Some of our fears are from the childhood, but we have joy from the childhood that we forgot about too. So when you get to the top of the breath, as you're breathing in all that authenticity and who you are and your worthiness, I want you to hold it for 4 counts. It'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can, just do your best. And as you're holding your breath, hold your power. Hold your power. Feel that. You're going to have the air coming in. You can only breathe your breath. All right. Thank you. You can only breathe your breath. And your breath is a part of you. And things can change in a breath. So if you're feeling, people are feeling down or lonely, then you like to play stickball in the streets of New York? That's cool. So just picture that, being able to do that. I don't know, you could maybe play stickball against your house, right? I don't know. But, a way that you would be able to get in touch with that kid again, that you are. Not to be childish, but childlike, that innocence, because there's still that little innocent child within you. So as you're holding your breath, hold your power. Breathe in your birthright. You were born to be here. You wouldn't be here. Hello, William. You're right where you're right. You are exactly as you were created to be. You are. You're right to own your gifts. You're right to be you. You're right to own your gifts. You're right to play. You have a right to play. You're right to be authentic. Just hold that power on that 4 counts. And then when you exhale, I want you to exhale and release all those feelings you were trying so hard to escape. Release that pain, release the shame, release the self-loathing, release the guilt, release the fear, the disappointment, and all those feelings that in trying to escape them, we may have actually intensified them, right? Because that's the way it did for me, is that I would be trying to escape these things, but it came back double worse after, with my sick, sad, and sorry self, after. So all those feelings that in trying to escape them, we may have actually intensified. Release the pain. Again, breathe in your original plan, breathe in that child, breathe in the authenticity, the play, and hold your breath for 4. Claim your birthright, claim your power, and then exhale. Releasing the feelings you were trying to escape, the pain, the shame, the self-hate. Release when you're trying to punish yourself. Y'all know you try to punish yourself because you did it again. And one more time, breathe in the authenticity, your gifts, your play, and the original plan. Y'all ready to breathe, darlings? Y'all got it now? You ready to breathe? Let's breathe, darlings. I want to thank you once again all for being here. Epic and Kim, thank you so much for moderating. And y'all hit that like button if you haven't already, okay? Feel free to share this video if you think it's going to help somebody else. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate you. All right, let's breathe, darlings. So let's take a deep breath in. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Hold it. And release. Breathe in. Hold it. Release. 2 more. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Thank y'all so much for being here this evening. I appreciate you. Kim, Epic, Angela, Rusty, and Amy, and I said Epic, didn't I? You are very welcome, darling. You are very welcome. All of you who were in here. Let me see who else. Epic, Angela, Lucky Street. I don't know if you're still here. Amy, and Lucky Street, Dominic. Thank y'all for being here this evening. Everyone who was here. G's Jaded left. Kim, Epic, Amy, Lucky. I think John London fell asleep on us. It's awful late where he is. It's like 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, maybe 3. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. Yeah. There was Samuel Westall. He was here. So, yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you for all the stuff lining up. I appreciate it. Thank you for all your input always. I always appreciate all your input. You are very welcome, Amy and Rusty. Thank you so much. I'll see y'all Sunday. I'll be back here Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll do stories. We'll do a story, okay? I love you too, Kim. I do. All right, Epic, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all. Thank you. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. I'm going to go back home to my sweet baby Grinch. Grinch is like sitting there. Hopefully the lights are back on, but if not, poor Grinch is in the dark. So I'll go see the Grinchy. Thank you all so much. I will see y'all Sunday, okay? Maybe I'll get to see you with the bookcases behind me. Surely. I will give Grinch love from y'all. I will indeed. Thank you so much. I love you. Y'all have an amazing Friday night. Y'all are the best Friday night date. You have a great weekend too, Angela. All right. Thanks again.